All right, so will LSU make a comeback after they have had that spectacular season, won the national championship, 15-0, dropped
Magical
off
run.
hard, and expectedly dropped
Very
off
much so.
hard? Can they not necessarily go win the national championship, but can they get back into their typical ranking, their typical area and stature? But before we get into the video, we get Dallas to talk to us a little bit about our sponsor.
Yes, our sponsor, Cam Smith, with the American Senior Benefits. His link is going to be about right here, right above me. So give him a shout out for all your insurance needs. All his contact information will be in the bio below.
For sure.
Also, just want to give him a shout out to the Just Jesus Network radio station.
Boy, Dave's on it.
Internet app to
On
listen
the
to
radio.
preaching, gospel singing, anything of that sort. Definitely appreciate him for supporting us. It is more appreciated than he knows.
And again, all the links will be in the description below. But to hop in to the meat of the video, if you watched our Boom Bust or Beware video, you saw that LSU was my boom team for this season. And what I meant by that is I really think they can have a whole lot better, a more significant, better season this upcoming season they had last year. They went 5-5 last year, and as David referred to, that was somewhat expected. They had a magical run going 15-0, Joe Burrow, all that talent that they had.
I think they lost
Gutted.
20 of
they
their.
were gutted.
I think it was 20 of their 22 starters that
But
they lost.
and I was sitting there the other day when we kind of came up with this video idea and decided we were going to discuss it, and they did. And again, I was one of those people that said, watch out, LSU's going to have a rough season, and rightfully so.
Right.
But we've seen Alabama lose a lot of people, and the next year they don't drop off.
Right.
We've seen Clemson lose a lot of people. Now, granted, we're in the ACC, but we've seen them lose a lot of people, yet not drop off. We've even seen Georgia sustain better than has LSU. No, they don't have the natty. Oklahoma, same thing. We've seen them lose players and sustain. So how come they didn't sustain? I know they were gutted. But looking at Orgeron's recruiting, outside of the very first year that he kind of came in as an intern and took that LSU job, he's recruited very well, top 5 each and every year. So how come they fell off?
Well,
because they should still have talent.
Right, and that's a very good question, John. And I think, they had a lot of – I mean, they had a big season to feel. After you just went 15-0, you won the national championship, you had a Heisman winner. I think you had they had 2 Heisman finalists that year,
Maybe
didn't they?
so. I know. I mean, you had literally Joe Burrow, the greatest single season of all time.
I mean, it definitely seemed like that year they were just destined to win. I mean, they even had the national championship down in New Orleans. And they came, like I said, they lost 20 of the 22 starters. Most teams, and I know you mentioned Clemson and the Alabamas and the Georgias losing returning starters coming back. But are they losing 20 of the 22?
Well, and I agree, and when you lose Joe Burrow and you lose Justin Jefferson and you lose Clyde Edwards-Helaire and some of the defensive guys' names slips my mind, when you lose all those guys, I don't expect you to win the Natty the next year. I don't even necessarily expect you to go to the playoffs next year.
But are you supposed to go better than 5-5?
But I don't expect you to go 5-5.
That's true.
And they played good in some games, but they lost some games that they absolutely should not have lost.
Look at their schedule last year. And
Well,
go ahead.
and I'll say this: I've watched just a tad bit of film and tape on LSU. And some things that Ed Orgeron does is head scratching.
Yeah, no, I agree absolutely.
Some things he does is like,
and I love him. He's a national treasure.
And he is, and he fits in great at LSU.
He does. He literally matches their personality.
But I don't want to make LSU fans
right,
mad here.
yeah.
I don't believe that Ed Orgeron is an elite level coach.
Correct, I agree with you.
Who can consistently get your program at the top.
Right.
And that was one of the questions I was going to end up trying to get to. It was asking you that. And again, hopefully there are a chunk of LSU fans watching this video. And before you're like, oh, y'all are just hating on LSU. Again, they're my boom team. Like I expect them to have a bounce back season this year.
I've got them going 8-4 this year, if not 9-3.
And I think David said he has them, second in the West.
This is what I told John earlier. If Alabama doesn't win the West, I believe LSU does.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
And that's one because I do believe Ed Orgeron's a good coach, but I'm on the same side as David. I don't think he's an elite coach. I just don't think that yet. If LSU comes out
he didn't do that great at USC.
Or Ole Miss, he did terrible. Well, I think USC was a bit of an interim, but at Ole Miss, I have it written down. He went 3-8, 4-8, 3-9.
He did enough as that interim.
Yeah.
To get where he is now.
Right.
And here's the thing: I'm not discrediting who he is. He has a national championship under his belt.
Probably top 5 greatest team of all time, college football.
Right, exactly. Like of all time, a single season absolutely has a top 5 team, potentially the best.
Yeah, no, I agree.
One reason why I think LSU has a chance to come out of the West this year, and I think Bama does. but to be second place in the West and potentially knock off Alabama. And in the SEC, all it really takes is 1 or 2 games, and you win some games you may not be supposed to, and you're in the championship game.
Right.
I really believe in their defense. You've got a really good running back in John Emery coming back. You've got a couple playmakers on offense. I forget that dude's name. I can't pronounce. I wouldn't even try to. But Balte or I don't.
Oh yeah,
I can't. I'm not even gonna try to. But he's a stud.
No,
absolute stud.
One of the biggest pickups I think on defense. Yeah, they lost Jabril Cox to the Cowboys in the draft, of course, but they picked up Mike Jones Jr. from Clemson, the transfer. Big pickup in replacing Jabril Cox.
Well,
I mean, steps right up and fills that role very nicely.
I don't know how much of an argument this is to argue against this, but I was going to say that LSU's got the best cornerback doing in the nation.
Oh, without a doubt.
I can agree with that.
Without a doubt.
There's some other.
Derek Stingley.
He's the best corner in college football.
Derek Stingley's the best in college football, and Elias Ricks is one of the best.
Yep, I can agree with that.
It's going to be hard to throw on this LSU defense.
Yeah. But of course, you know we have to address this is the quarterback situation.
Yep.
With the loss of Miles Brennan, you know, I think he broke his arm. I think what I think.
I don't know what
I think
I think
that was.
something.
I think I seen that was the injury he had because he's already had surgery to replace it. But I think their whole season relies on Max Johnson. Can Max Johnson step up and
you know that's
take
almost
over the
like
reins?
the elephant of the room.
It is
of every team.
It is. Yeah.
If you look at Georgia, JT went to Heisman, you probably win the Natty. Or if you look at Clemson, DJ comes out. But I understand that, but that's the case here.
Right.
If Max Johnson can put this team on his shoulders, there's no telling where they could go.
And that's one thing I was going to say, and I think Mac Johnson, obviously, he's a highly touted guy. I think he very well potentially could. They've got some good wide receivers. They got really good freshman wide receivers that I really think a lot of times, not necessarily in all programs, but the top-tier programs, the top-of-the-line programs, you normally don't see the true freshmen start. Right. But I really think these LSU wide receivers can make an impact week one.
I agree.
Definitely early in the season. And again, just kind of to go back to Ed Orgeron, one reason, and again, I think Ed Orgeron is a very good coach. I'm just not.
He's definitely a good coach.
I'm not at the point that I'm comfortable putting him in that elite level because if you look outside that 15-0 season, he went 9-4 and 10-3 the seasons prior, which is solid. But that's solid.
It's solid.
And then last year you go 5-5, and again, I expected LSU to have a tougher season, but you got to go better than 5-5. But real quick, the reason I think Ed Orgeron could end up placing himself in more of that elite level is because he's recruiting at an elite level. As I mentioned previously, outside of that year where he was kind of the interim at LSU and then he took the head coaching job, he's been recruiting, I believe, third, fifth, fourth, and third.
He's recruiting at a high level. Exactly what I was just about to get to. And that to me is one of the most impressive stats, that your team goes from a 15-0 national championship season to a 5-5 season, and you still come in with the number 3 recruiting class in the nation. That speaks very highly of the program that he is building there. So I think he has to get some credit, just simply because of that.
No, absolutely.
And that definitely gives them hope for this year to make that comeback, to get above those 5, 6, 7 wins, and to compete in the West.
Right, and obviously they lose Eric Gilbert to Georgia.
big loss there too.
Hopefully he stays at Georgia, but they lose him to Georgia, and so that's a big loss. But you have to think, if Max Johnson can get the ball, there's guys that throw the ball too.
Absolutely.
But it's not the same team. But that 2019 team, not every team has 2 or 3 top 2 round wide receivers,
right?
And a top 2 round
and
tight end,
Justin
and a
Jefferson,
first round running back, and
who was the other
number 1 overall quarterback.
Justin Jefferson and
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And then you've got the tight end there, Moss, and then you've got the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
That's a generational.
Oh, that is
probably on paper the best offensive of all time.
And that's what I was saying to begin this. Yes, other teams have had, Clemson's, the Georgias, the Alabamas have had losses and people going away, but not to that extent. Yeah, it's hard. Yes, you may be getting other 5-star recruits coming in. You still may be recruiting at a high level, but these kids are not Joe Burrows and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Moss.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And I know I've said it. I think it's about the 3rd time I've said it now. But there was still
and Devin White on defense.
Yeah, and I mean losing all that again. But there's still no excuse for some of the games that they lost in the way that they lost.
Yeah, like I was looking right here at their schedule last year. You know,
they opened up the season last year and got absolutely throttled.
Well, they lost by 10 to Mississippi State.
To Mississippi State,
as far look at the yards given.
Oh
yeah. That's the
what
thing that
blew my
struggled
mind.
there was their defense last year.
Right.
What blew my mind was the yards given up in that game alone, and you've got Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks.
Right. Yeah.
It's like nobody, and this is what irks me the most. If I'm an LSU fan, it's almost like going into the year. It's like Orgeron just.
Yeah.
You know, we just
won an Natty. Yeah.
15-0. Who cares? What
like you talk about, you always hear these national championship hangovers, these Super Bowl hangovers. It seemed like LSU was hit with that national championship hangover as hard as anybody.
I'll
has
tell
in
you
a couple
this:
of years.
the culture of a program within the locker room, not as a whole, because as a whole, programs have their own culture.
Right.
You have your identity as a program. Your offense has their identity. Your defense. The culture within a group of players matters.
Oh, 100%.
If you're going to win it all, your players have to be thick as thieves.
Yeah.
If you're going to win it all, your players that culture, that mindset, there's no way that your team went 5-5. They had talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave up 623 passing yards to Mississippi State.
You shouldn't give up 600 passing yards in 3 games.
Yeah.
Legit.
Now they only gave up 9 rushing yards, but
well, baggum. If you throw for 600, would you hand the ball?
Are you going to run the ball?
Yeah.
If I was throwing for 600, I'd tell the running back to go on the house.
So they lost to Mississippi State. Then they went on to beat Vanderbilt. Pretty easily.
I bet you we could take Gateway and Brooklyn, combine a team, and
then they lost to Missouri, by 4. High scoring game as well. Again, their defense allowed 40.
That's the thing. If you look at it,
45 points.
Their defense
then they went on to beat South Carolina.
Colin Hill dropped a bombshell on them jokers and then passed away.
Yeah,
like he disappeared.
Lost to Auburn pretty bad.
48-11.
48-11. Beat Arkansas by 3. Lost to A&M 20-7. Lost to Bama 55-17. And then surprisingly won their last 2 games this season. Beat Florida by 3.
Max Johnson, I believe, was there. Was he not behind center?
He could have been.
Beat Florida by 3, and then went on to beat Ole Miss by 5 in another shootout, 53-48.
That's the thing. You know, as bad a season as you had,
you still beat some good teams.
Finished strong.
You finished out strong.
Finished very strong. And again, I mean, you look at who they played last. Florida and Ole Miss, 2 high-octane offenses.
Yeah.
Really, some of the best offenses we saw last year in college.
Ole Miss had, some studs at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And a great quarterback.
Right.
So just briefly looking at their schedule this year. I mean, as I was looking at this today, you open up with at UCLA in Pasadena in the Rose Bowl.
And I think that's a losable game. But LSU should be favored in that.
Exactly. I would say you should win that.
Yeah, it's a losable game.
Yeah, especially out there.
Yeah.
In Pasadena.
And this is the brand of UCLA.
Right.
They're going to be the home team per se.
Right.
So we'll give them a win on that. Then they have McNeese.
Yeah.
Brother Dean's team. Brother Dean's team, I think.
Who's their first real test?
Then they play Central Michigan. So they should start 3-0.
You should be 3-0.
Then they go to Mississippi State.
You're 4-0.
I give them a win on that too.
Yeah, no, I do too. As well.
Then they play Auburn at home.
I still give them.
I give them a win at home.
You're 5-0.
At Kentucky.
I give them 6-0.
You should be 6-0.
They should be, yeah.
Florida. 7-0.
You're 7-0. LSU could go 0-11 or 1-11 rather. They're beating Florida.
Yeah.
LSU is Florida's dad.
Then they play at Ole Miss. That'll probably be a tough game.
I could see Ole Miss pulling that one off.
Yeah,
for
LSU
sure, especially at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But I could also see them winning.
If they win that game and they're undefeated, they're second in the West. LSU probably gonna lose that game. But here's the deal. You never know what happens. I like Ole Miss this year, but LSU could be undefeated at this point. But I'd give them a loss.
See, that's what, and you're about to get to it. The next game after that is Alabama. But you know how intriguing that's going to be just for us, and from like a media perspective. Alabama undefeated, LSU undefeated, and then they're playing
competing
each other
for the West. Yeah,
I mean, that's
at Denny Wright Stadium. Yeah,
because
that's the West.
Yeah, because
are they playing at Alabama in that game?
It's at Alabama.
Yeah, I'm sorry, LSU. Nobody beats Alabama at their stadium.
I think Nick Saban
84-5 at home.
I was about to say, yeah,
ridiculous.
Which is crazy.
And
that's mind-boggling.
The 5 losses that he has, and I'm not just smart that I knew that. I actually seen that stat the other day. But I could have took credit for it. I'm not sure who the 5 were. It was ridiculous. It was like
Johnny Manziel and A&M, Cam Newton and Auburn,
the LSU team,
Chad Kelly and Ole Miss, and then the LSU team. I don't know.
There was one more.
So basically,
but the 5 losses,
literally.
To
beat
Saban, you have to be a generation.
And then Chad Kelly,
crazy.
Kelly was a magician. If you ever watched that dude,
and
that dude pulled out some of the crazy stuff.
The 5 losses was a combined combined score of 21 points that they lost by.
Wow.
So they're in every game.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
So
we'll give them a loss. So they're 7-2. They've
You
lost
don't want to go to Brighton.
back-to-back
See,
games.
That's fair. It goes 7-2.
So then Arkansas at home. I'll give them a win at Arkansas.
Yeah.
And then ULM. So we give them a win at that. So they're now 9-2.
And going against A&M.
Going against A&M, and that could be for the West. I mean, that could
not for the West.
Or
not for the
second
West, but
place.
second
It could
West.
be for the West.
It's at LSU.
LSU wins that.
Yeah.
Let me.
Which if LSU goes 10-2 this year, y'all should be very excited
Yeah,
by what next year is.
Yeah,
in store.
if you're an LSU fan and you go 10-2,
I think you're content with 10-2. Absolutely.
Yeah.
no doubt. Here's my thing. All right, so we're basically just projecting them 10-2, 9-3.
Yeah.
Let's say things go wrong, things go bad. All right, you come out there, you lose to UCLA, you lose to an Ole Miss,
Slip up to Auburn.
You slip up to an Auburn. Say you even lose to an Arkansas. Things can get ugly.
That's what I'm saying. Say you go 7-5, 6-6.
Let me ask you this:
I think if they go anything less than
8-4.
8-4,
is that Orgeron?
Yeah, I think.
I'm not saying.
I don't think he's
out.
gone.
Is he jumping?
I don't think.
Is he jumping?
I don't think he's gone, but I think
He ain't going, but boy, that seat's getting
I
hot.
was gonna say I
hot.
definitely think his seat.
He's
gets
over
hot.
there.
That leash is
He's
getting
jumping off
really
that
short.
seat.
Because we're soon to forget that LSU was a team just couple of years, but if excluding the 2019 season, that's an exception. But was the team that competed with Alabama year in and year out. It was either them or Alabama in the West.
Well, but that was like the Les Miles era.
Yeah,
when
that's
Les
what I'm
Miles
saying.
was at his
That's
peak.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that wasn't too long ago.
No, it wasn't.
And that mindset
It's still there, and it should be.
as the Clemson program has, the Georgias, the Alabama. If you don't win natties, you're not going to make it.
Let me go ahead and put.
At least competing, being there.
Let
Exactly.
me go ahead and put some fans on notice. Georgia fans, LSU fans, Florida fans, Ole Miss fans, pretty much anybody but Bama.
Yeah.
Okay.
The SEC runs through Bama.
When Texas and Oklahoma get here, you better have your head coach figured out.
Right. No, I agree.
Because when SEC teams go through head coaches, typically they drop off
struggle
hard.
Yeah.
Georgia's an exception.
Because I hate to tell you, Oklahoma's got theirs figured out.
Oklahoma's got theirs figured out.
Texas, I don't know yet. But
Texas
Oklahoma
probably
does.
just figured theirs out.
And like you just said, Georgia's the exception, but it's not like y'all fired Mark Richt when y'all
Right.
were 5-7.
No,
y'all fired him when he was still doing very good.
And I know we're not talking about coaching, but why do these teams let their programs get to like the bottom
Right.
before they
make a move? I know people hate
because
on
then
Georgia.
it takes that new coach
That
5,
new
6,
coach
7,
has-
8 years to build the program.
and they
back.
never get that leash.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah,
putting
yeah, exactly.
Instead of putting the coaches back against the wall, give him the keys to a Corvette
Right.
and let him drive.
Yeah.
But you better LSU fans and LSU as a program, their front office ain't watching this. But if Ed Orgeron doesn't come out this year and go 9-3 or 8-4 at the worst,
Yeah.
his seat better be burned.
I agree because I think even within LSU circles, I could be wrong. I don't really know nobody that's a diehard LSU fan, but I would imagine that their jury's still a little bit out on Ed Orgeron because let's not act like that was the perfect storm 2019.
Yeah.
Dude, that was the
I'm not,
absolute
no disrespect
perfect
to Ed Orgeron, but could I put the hat on that season and win a national championship?
Yeah.
with that talent.
Yeah.
Could I have done it?
Joe Brady.
Could I just let my coordinators do that?
I was going to say, and let's not forget his coordinator, Joe Brady. I mean,
But also to rebuttal that,
And that defensive coordinator been there his whole freaking life.
Yeah, legit. I mean, he was, in my opinion, just
I could have
behind
put the
Venables.
coaching hat on that season. No
But
disrespect.
The only rebuttal in that would be, what about our 2018 season? Do you think you could take Dabo out and put somebody in there to
Right.
still win? I would probably be even when you
Right.
got that great
Right.
of
And that's
coaches
the
around
thing,
him, and you
because-
said he wouldn't Saban.
Because and I'm messing around. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'd have got outcoached by everybody, even the worst. But he assembled that team.
yeah.
Right.
So you can't, and that's like with Kirby. You can't say, "Oh, well, he's got talent." Yeah, he got the talent
Right.
there.
Yeah.
You can't blame him for having talent.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life. So, but here's the thing with that Orgeron, he is recruiting well.
He is.
He needs to go 8-4.
well.
If I'm an LSU fan,
Minimum 8-4.
anything less than 9-3, I'm not happy.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. So, in conclusion, I think, as I've stated before in one of our previous videos, I think LSU is going to have a very good year. I think you're looking at a 10-2 probably regular season.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I don't think they're.
Weight of the world's on Max Johnson.
I don't think they're over the hump to beat Bama yet.
no, absolutely not. But at the same time, I think they'll do well.
They're
but I
making
think
progress.
I think
Bama's
it is.
young.
Bama's young.
I think it is fair to have your reservation and to have your doubt about LSU coming into the season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Georgia will play Bama in the Bama Invitational in December.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Is that what it's recalled now?
Yeah,
Should
that's
be.
what we call it. But I think LSU comes out second in the East, or
Yeah,
the West rather.
I
They
agree.
come out second in the
agree.
East, and something happened.
Yeah, I agree.
Something
But
happened.
let
Maybe
us know
some
what
SEC
let us know what
you think.
Yeah, what you think the record's going to be.
Anything that I
Um,
said that made you mad, take it up with him.
Yeah, and then take it up with him. So,
Yeah.
but until next time, we appreciate it as always. As again, check out Cam Smith, Insurance, Just Jesus Network Radio,
And,
whichever one you want.
Comment,
Comment,
share,
like,
and
yeah.
subscribe.
Hey, and if you are still watching this, I just want to give a big shout out.
Just for
I
being
think in the
great
last 48 hours, we've gained like
bunch of subscribers.
22, 23 subscribers.
Which to us is huge.
We
which is huge.
genuinely
yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
like
like
legit.
legit.
Like we'd still do what
We
we
didn't
did.
think we'd be where we are
Yeah,
now.
we
in
would
just
still
a
do
month.
what we do without y'all, but we definitely wouldn't
It
have.
makes
as
it a
much
lot
fun.
better.
We
It makes it
wouldn't
a lot
want
more
to,
fun.
but if you're still watching, comment crawfish.
Crawfish. That's a good word.
Crawfish.
That's a
Until
great
next
word.
time, keep talking ball.